A riot on January 6th?
We think it's properly characterized that way and not as insurrection. And remember, look, the Constitution, Section 3 says engage in insurrection. It doesn't say in an insurrection. And remember, look, the Constitution, Section 3 says engage in insurrection. It doesn't say in an insurrection.
How is that not absurd?
Remember, look, the Constitution, Section 3 says engage in insurrection. It doesn't say in an insurrection.
Fun of any of this. How is it not absurd to say anybody who engaged in insurrection can't serve in office who engage except the president or a former president or a vice president or a former president? How is that not absurd?
Which is that our Constitution, as we've talked about, is just a document. It's a promise to each other that we must enforce to protect our shared democracy. And committing ourselves to that Constitution, the rule of law, comes with real fragility, because our Constitution commands no armies. It has no police force. All it has is very limited self-defense mechanisms that my colleague mentioned, and that is Section 3. And all Section 3 says that if you take an oath to support the Constitution and then turn around and attack the Constitution, you cannot be trusted to take an oath a second time, because you've shown yourself unworthy and incapable of ensuring that we remain a nation ruled by law rather than by one man. Qualifications, by their very definition, limit who can vote or who can run for office. And Trump's argument that because he's popular, that should affect how we interpret Section 3 here could not be more dangerous. Jefferson Davis would have gotten a lot of popular support right after the Civil War. And the application of Section 3 is at its most urgent when a person who has desecrated their oath to the Constitution already seeks to become our commander-in-chief again. If we say that this conduct by this person is not enough under the Constitution, what we do is empower Trump and others to use more political violence to attack our democracy. Enforcing our Constitution enables the will of the people, and we must enforce it against unlikely candidates like Hassan and popular candidates like Trump. I'd like to reserve the rest of my time for rebuttal, but we ask.
Is so clear, and where the consequences of saying that the presidency is not in office under the United States would be so bizarre, because you'd be saying that, for example, in Article 6, Congress can impose a religious test for no office except the presidency, and I guess you could require the president to be a Jehovah's Witness, or that no office under the United States, the holder of them can accept bribes from foreign kings or princes under the Emoluments Clause, but that because the presidency is not in office under the United States, the president can go to a foreign prince and ask them for a title of nobility. And that those results are just so counterintuitive to our constitutional structure that a careful parsing of legislative history here, I think, is interesting, but really not terribly necessary.
Fun of any of this. How is it not absurd to say anybody who engaged in insurrection can't serve in office who engage except the president or a former president or a vice president or a former president? How is that not absurd? President or a former president or a vice president or a former president. How is that not absurd? How is that not absurd?
Which is,
remember, look, the Constitution, Section 3 says engage in insurrection. It doesn't say in an insurrection.